What's up guys, Brian Grant here of ContestChampion.com. Today I just want to talk about arena predictions and why sometimes my predictions are not so accurate to what the final cutoff actually is. And then also show you how I ended up ranking in the previous arena, the Nebula arena. So first up, I want to put the predictions that I guessed on screen right now. And you can see here that I guessed for 4-star Nebula, I thought she was going to go for 12 million. She ended up going for about 15 million. 4-star Magic, I was expecting to go for about 2.7, and she ended up going for about 3.1. And 3-star Nebula, honestly, I'm not sure what she went for. It was probably close enough to 1.2 million. Maybe it was 1.1 or something like that. I don't know. Let me explain how I go about coming up with these numbers. So here's a nice spreadsheet made by a couple of people over on Reddit. If we look here, it's maintained by bdog923, who I believe is the person in charge of making all these nice looking spreadsheets. And then Arena Results Night here is the person who makes the threads every week or every arena, asking for people to input their scores and how they ranked, so that we can have some accurate cutoff numbers here. And you can see that Nebula, the second round, the scores are not in here yet, but I know it's 15 million just by people posting pictures on Twitter, sending them to me on Twitter, people in line chat posting pictures, and people on Reddit, browsing the threads that are made where people are posting their scores. So I know it's about 15 million for the featured Nebula, and for Magic it was about 3.1, and the scores actually went up in both cases, which is surprising to me, especially because on the last day the Tier 4 Basic started up. And it doesn't affect it that much if it starts on the last day. Normally it affects it a lot if it starts on like the first day or the second day, or in this case of the current arena that's going on with Mordo as the basic. Having that Tier 4 basic, it should affect the cutoff to some degree at least. So I'm guessing the second round for Mordo is going to be the higher round of the two. But again, this is all it's all just a guessing game really, and we can look at the past to get some accurate guesses. So for example here, Iceman was the previous highest cutoff with just over 14.5 million, and the second round for Iceman dropped. It dropped by a lot, and the reason for this drop, I feel at least, because Iceman is definitely deserving of that 15 million-ish cutoff. The reason for that drop, I feel, is just because a lot of people had Awakening Gems. A lot of people still have those Awakening Gems. I think people are kind of hanging on to the last Awakening Gem or two, or they might be completely out, and maybe that's why the scores didn't drop so much. But the reason why, I took that into consideration, but the reason why I thought that it was going to drop is if we look at King Groot, the first round went for about a little over 12 million, and then the champion turned out to not be as good as people were expecting. I still haven't really tested out the champion, and I've heard from some people that he is a very good champion still, or at least a good champion that can get you through some tough content in the game. And this cutoff was really drastic. Honestly, it should have never dropped that much. I'm guessing a lot of people just either really didn't like the champion, still had Cosmic Awakening Gems that they weren't using, or just thought that the cutoff was going to be much higher, so they didn't bother. And that's what I took into consideration. I took into consideration Iceman and King Groot mostly when I was predicting 12 million for Nebula. Nebula was not as good of a champion as she was hyped up to be. She's totally fun, and that's why I went for her. I think I can have a lot of fun with the champion with that that shock damage, and see how high I can get that on the 4-star. That's why I went for her. But other than that, I don't know if I really don't think that she's worth the score that she actually went for, which is why I thought she was going to drop so much. I didn't think she was going to plummet as hard as Iceman did, or as hard as King Groot did, just because I really think that people are out of those Awakening Gems, or at least out of tech ones, so it's a little bit hard to try to use a generic gem on the champion. But at the same time too, Nebula is not really a champion that needed to be awakened, so that's another reason why I thought she was going to drop so much. But again, I was wrong. I take all these things into consideration though, and even still, when I play the arena, I go much higher myself. So if we go back in game now, I'll show you that I did actually come out with a Nebula of my own. I'll show you the score that I went to in just a second here after I claim Nebula. I ended up going a little bit over 15, just barely. And I'm glad that I did, because I was honestly considering stopping somewhere around 14.5. because I thought I thought 12 million. You know, it's a pretty big, you know, guess. Again, you could see how wrong I was in this case. But I always recommend going higher than what you think the actual cutoff is going to be. What I'm guessing is literally like last place, the last person to get that champion. And I thought that you know, there's no way that the score was going to go higher than a first round. So I was going to stop at like 14.5. And man, I'm glad I put in those last few rounds to get myself over 15 million, because otherwise I would have been just missing the cutoff again. And yeah, it's a bad feeling to miss that cutoff, especially when it's the second round of that champion and you know you can't really redeem yourself until that champion comes around as a basic. So again, shout out to the people who missed out this round. It hurts, man. I know it hurts. I've only done it a couple of times now. Once with Spider-Gwen as the basic, which is not that big of a loss, but then with Gwenpool as the 4-star champion, as the featured arena, that one definitely hurt. So, yeah, that gives you, hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of insight when it comes to what I'm doing to guess these cutoffs. It really is just a guess. It's an estimated guess going by a few different factors. It's just a guess, so you definitely want to go as high as you possibly can. One other thing that I'll point out here, when it comes to lowering the cutoffs for the basic champions, at least, there is something that we can do to help lower these cutoffs. The more people that actually participate in the arena, the more people get these champions, and that means the lower the score actually needs to be in order to get the champion. It might not be by much, but you know, a few 100,000 points can really help out a lot of players. So I definitely support Dave's initiative here, hashtag get in the pool, and I'll link this video in the description if you want to see what I'm talking about what it, you know, about lowering the cutoffs necessary to get these basic champions, and some of the other ranked rewards as well. So thanks for watching this one, guys. I will see you in the next video, and hopefully I'll have some more accurate predictions for tonight's live stream, as I will be going for Mordo myself, and I know many of you are going for Mordo also. Take care, guys.